got to kick in now for several weeks.
Oh, you mean it did kick in at one point?
It used to, but they've changed something that was changed.
Yeah.
Hello, JP.
Hello. Oh, we got flowers. Flowers for us.
Just for you, JP.
For you.
There's no Wi-Fi here. I can use it.
Yeah, you just have to pay for it.
I just bring my own 3G.
You can tap into
Wi-Fi in a co-working space.
You can
Yeah,
generally log into Tropical View. Yeah.
Next time I'll bring my Wi-Fi stick and make you shirt. Just plug
Yeah,
it in
there's
the
a.
shirt.
You can get a kind of portable chocolate view of those.
All right, guys, it's 5 o'clock.
Gary,
It's
you're
that
not
time
late.
again, Tuesday night,
You can't say it.
Tuesday, January 24th, 2017. Time once again for the filter.
Where
The
is
filter number 111. Very auspicious number, 111, 111th episode. This one's called Bitcoin Traffic Jam. I actually created this image, this traffic jam image, before I realized that how timely it would be. The Bitcoin network is jammed. You get a log jam. You get the traffic's worse than downtown Ubud on the Bitcoin network.
But it's not gridlock.
Okay.
I thought you were just trying to sell everyone on Bitcoin.
That's what I see when I drive around. I just see Bitcoin on everything.
No, you
There's still
see
7 transactions per second.
I can make Bitcoin a bit,
That's
right?
But you
not
see
a
our-
jam.
Bitcoin helmets. This is a money-making idea.
Yeah? Like your head just
Big
looks like a
orange-
Bitcoin?
Big orange helmet.
All right,
maybe,
all right. I'll go 50-50 with you,
This is-
JP.
The
Um,
view through Orleans and South Case.
All right, what are we going to talk about today, right? Well, this is the filter. What are we filtering in the filter? We're going to talk about the news, right? We got all kinds of news to discuss. We've got people in Silicon Valley building doomsday bunkers and thinking about Bitcoin. We've got a Bitcoin ETF. Is that ever going to happen? Are we ever going to have a Bitcoin ETF? What's the problem? How about online merchants dropping Bitcoin support? Why is that happening? Why would anybody turn down Bitcoin, paying for stuff with Bitcoin? One prominent online retailer is dropping Bitcoin. We're going to talk about that. And then we're going to get into some of the meat of this logjam, right? 7 transactions per second. When's the last time you saw the Bitcoin network doing 7 transactions per second? I think you're full of it, Edmund.
So what
Why don't you tell us?
We'll talk about the Bitcoin traffic jam. We've got our guest star, Willie Woo, in the house, who's going to talk about 3 graphs that you probably haven't seen before. 3.
Not 1, 3.
Do you sleep?
Why?
Do you sleep, man?
Actually, I
You
don't.
are prolific. And then we're going to talk about the remittance market. We've been talking about remittances for a long time around here, but there is a big development in remittances, a very big development in remittances. So stay tuned for that. That'll happen at the end. Let me share my screen here. Hang on to your hats. We need like transition music at this stage of every
Everybody was.
doom, like that game show music.
Yeah, we need a little tune in the jingle.
We do. We need some musical energy. I haven't figured out how to integrate that part. Okay, so now everybody should be seeing what we are seeing up there. So for those at home who didn't see that we were talking about our Ubud traffic jam made up of Bitcoin zombies. This was actually taken on Jalan Raya in Ubud, and I had enough time to take my phone out and snap a photo. Anyway, it's traffic jam in downtown Ubud. It's a traffic jam on the Bitcoin network. The name of today's episode is Bitcoin Traffic Jam. We're going to talk about it. But first, let's get into the price. Oh, wait. Well, before we go to the price, after the show today, we're going to go to Kismet, 10% off at Kismet on all your polenta lasagna, spicy margaritas, and what else is good there?
Spicy jackfruit
The
salad.
halloumi burger.
Halloumi burger.
Yes. Anyway, we're going to go to Kismet. We will retire to Kismet after this. They are saving a spot for us up in the
That soup is good too.
up in the top there. So anyway, we will head there after the show. All right, let's talk about price. Very boring price this week?
I wouldn't say
No? You find $919 an exciting figure?
After 2015.
Did you watch it drop and recover a few times this week?
Yeah.
Well, let's look at that. Here's the week.
There it is.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, I guess this is kind of exciting.
It's
kinda-
a fine
It's kind of
week.
freaky.
It's
Yeah,
a
the dips are fairly regular, though, aren't
Yeah.
fine week.
Here's the Bitcoin time machine. This is the over the course of the last week. And what happens when we just go over a cliff here, and
2,
then we
3,
climb, and then cliff?
4 cliffs.
This is like a little chasm. There's a little chasm right here. You don't see that very often. Anyway, we never talk about volatility within a 1 week time period, but that's a good, between below 870 and above 930. You could have lost or gained a little bit of money if you were day trading this sucker over the last week. But anyway, any speculation on why the price is moving around so much?
Is it moving around more than normal? I mean,
Yes.
these retracements,
Yes.
these mini retracements
It's
are unusual, we think.
stabilizing.
It's
If
stabilizing.
you go back another week, it was apeshit crazy. So it's just on its way
So-
stabilizing. You can actually see on the volatility graph.
Here's
it
the
is
here's
coming down.
the month graph.
I mean,
Right.
it's
You
So
just- you-
this
let's
looks
just-
a lot more boring than this.
We
area.
just
so.
nearly touched peak volatility on the regression line last week. And so if you look at the last kind of 2 weeks, we're actually stabilizing.
That's what I would have said, and I think it's kind of recovering quite nicely after the peak.
I
Mhm.
can't see a graph that shows how old the money is that's moving. Like, is it recent money that's moving or old money? I think that might be.
Bitcoin days destroyed, you mean?
Yeah. That would sort of give
Probably
another
time to, right?
perspective on it.
Yeah.
You time to do it.
Why? What does it mean if old money is moving?
It means the early investors
Are bailing
are
out?
bailing out.
Is there any way of measuring that?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a figure called Bitcoin days destroyed.
Right.
Uh,
What does that tell you then?
That tells you how it's a figure that encapsulates the how old the coins are that are trading.
Yeah,
Oh, when they were created.
it weights
you
how
mean?
much coins you've just transferred.
When they last moved.
Right. Oh, when they last
Weighted
moved.
by how long they've been in the wallet.
Oh, right. It's an interesting metric. But I think if you put an average true range on that graph, it probably has gone down since the absolute peak, I would guess.
Well, we normally talk about volatility in terms of a 60-day moving average, and to bolster that point that you were just talking about, this is the regression line of volatility since Bitcoin began, basically, well back to 2011, so not all the way, but you can see that there's a distinct downward trend in terms of volatility. And the size of these bubbles is the transaction volume. So as transaction volume gets larger and larger, the volatility goes down and down. And this is new. I don't know. It's a very subtle change, but we'll put a 60-day figure on there for us. Since we look at volatility every week, we should be able to see for ourselves how things are shaping up. Right now, we're at 8.8% volatility, which is quite high historically, right?
Yeah. Well, you can see it on the graph. We're just coming off that peak.
This red line is like the
Is that the red line? Is it?
red
yeah.
line is the volatility. Yeah.
yes, this big squiggly red line is the actual volatility figures, and then we're right under.
See, so we have been trending down from a peak of. Can I borrow that? You
Yeah.
can actually.
How often is this updated?
It's updated daily, within the day multiple times.
Of course, this includes the recent massive peak, doesn't it? If it's 60-day vol.
Yeah.
Is it a
So
standard
here's-
deviation
there we are.
time metric?
That's 23rd.
8.8.
That's
It's ever been
23rd.
that high.
It's 12th of January was the peak, and we're down at the. We're 11 days on from it. It's coming down.
But still, remember the doldrums of 2015? It was like 2 and 1.
Yeah.
That, That figure is slightly different, calculated slightly differently.
Well, there, down here. So there's 1.6. But actually, you know, like, check this out. I was just like, that big bubble was 58 million traded back in the Willybot peak. And today, we have got almost double, 96 mil traded in a boring day.
How far we've come.
Double.
Another slogan for a t-shirt? Boring is good.
Yeah. Bitcoin boring.
That's the thing.
Make Bitcoin boring again.
Make Bitcoin boring again.
I just want to remind you guys that Willie and I talked about this graph. If this is too busy for you and you're wondering how this graph works, Will and I did a little half-hour recording on what's contained in that graph. If you want to check it out, it's on the YouTube channel. All right, what else is going on here, guys? We've got the upcoming University of Nicosia MOOC. And I posted this in the group. I was curious if anybody wanted to jump in and take this class, and maybe we could take it as a group, kind of set up a study group and get together once a week and watch the videos, maybe take the classes, gloat when my test scores are so much larger than yours. You know, sounds like fun to me.
Yeah, except Andreas answered me in the chat.
Anyway,
is this Andreas' course today?
It is, although I don't know if he's hosting it again. Yeah, I'm not sure. But it starts on February 13th, so just in time for Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day, honey.
Maybe you'll meet your significant other in Bitcoin class. What could go wrong? Anyway, check that out. I posted something in the Facebook book group about it. If there's enough interest, then I would be willing to get together once a week and do a little study group, go over the lectures, maybe watch some of the videos together, and ace those tests. What else is going on? We've got the North American Bitcoin Conference. Are you guys aware that this is going on in Miami? Anybody watch any of the videos coming out of, well, you know who's in Miami, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know who does their Bitcoin show out of Miami? These are the Bitcoin Unlimited guys at the North American Bitcoin Conference doing their show from the bathroom. This is not Bitcoin Unlimited, Bitcoin Uncensored. Bitcoin Unlimited is something else. These are the Bitcoin Uncensored guys doing their show from the bathroom, and I'm amazed at the caliber of people that are willing to do their show from the bathroom. But there's lots of interesting videos, stuff going on at the North American Bitcoin Conference, and there's something in particular that was unveiled. Well, I don't know if it was unveiled, but it caught my attention from presentations from this show, and that's about this new remittance app called Abra. Have you heard about this? Posted something in the group. We're going to talk about it at the end of the show, but I first learned about it by watching some of the videos from this. Stay tuned. We're going to talk about that at the end. It's pretty significant. It's kind of a big deal for remittances, and it might even be Bitcoin's killer app. Could bring Bitcoin to the masses. I think it's kind of a big deal.
Oh, it doesn't kill Bitcoin, it's not a Bitcoin killer.
No, killer app as in good, like it's sick, man. It's killer.
A Bitcoin killer app.
Yeah, you gotta have, that's one word.
Killer app.
Oh, is this like Silk Road when you can order a hit with Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Killer.
Oh,
Killer
you think a killer app would be a killer app?
Yeah, an app for killing.
Because you could
Bitcoin.
murder for hire.
Yeah.
That would be a killer app.
Like, so that was Silk Road.
That was the original killer app. It didn't really take on. It didn't really catch on. that killer app was a killer app.
That's what Russell's frames for, that way.
All right, I don't know why they take their shirts off. Does anybody know why the Bitcoin Uncensored guys? They start the show with their shirt on, and then.
If they have a title like Liberty on the Cooper, why are you asking?
Anyway, those guys are fun. All right. Well, it wouldn't be a news roundup if we didn't talk about China, right? China's Bitcoin exchanges end no-fee trading in market shakeup. Have you guys been following this news? The People's Bank of China showed up knocking on the door, talking about two things. No-fee trading, which is a way to maybe create kind of fake volume on the exchanges, maybe use some high frequency trader bots to drive the price up. And what's the other thing? Oh, margin trading, right? So borrowing a bunch of money to do the high frequency manipulation of the price. And well, I think it's safe to say that the Bitcoin volume has dropped remarkably in China. Isn't that true, Will?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, that's this guy. How come I didn't?
Can you click it? You can click it, eh? Just go down there and click the image straight off Telegram. Is that broadcast? Maybe not.
I don't think. Oh,
Oh, no,
yeah.
it doesn't broadcast. You have to click.
So this is the volume right here.
Yeah, see the first zigzag and the dotted line? There. Give me that. Give me that, Gary. Right. Okay, so this is all like rumors, and then margin trading got halted here, it stabilized here, bounced here, and then zero fees came in about here somewhere, right? So
Well, I think
we
they
don't-
started. Some of the exchanges started zero fees, or started or ended zero
sorry.
fees today.
was it today?
The 24th.
24th?
Yeah.
24th, really? Well, the last date of this is 23rd, so we haven't seen it yet. This must be zero trade. This must be zero ending margin trading still. Are you sure it's 24th?
At least on BTC China, is what I read.
Yeah, it's a little time zone. It's probably America's behind, eh?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's probably 20.
So do you think this is going to go down even further then?
Yeah. So I think the last point on this graph is the first day of trading.
And so,
fees.
yeah, we talked about this a bit last week. I mean, 98% of the trading volume was on Chinese exchanges. Was that something like that?
99 from that one.
And now things, they are changing, right? And, well, it'll be really interesting to see what happens to the overall market once this all shakes out. And there are other places in the world that have since introduced zero fee trading in the UK, right?
Yeah.
So maybe these shenanigans are not quite over yet. Although I don't think they have nearly the volume in the UK that you would see in China, but we shall see. Oops. All right, what else have we got? Oh, big changes coming with the Chinese Bitcoin exchange realm. What did I highlight here?
But isn't it interesting that a central bank is so directly liaising with exchanges? Because I don't think we're seeing that anywhere else. I mean, the Bank of England aren't talking to local exchanges. There seems to be a much closer relationship between central banking in China and the Bitcoin community.
Yeah, well, I think in China in general, the government and the state has a much more, they just play a bigger role in in everything. But in the United States, the Federal Reserve, I mean, they get involved. They're supposed to regulate the banking industry, and they make all kinds of rules.
But the Fed, they're not, for instance, directly talking to,
Coinbase.
or Coinbase, as far as I know. I mean,
No.
they might be having some informal meetings, but they're not sort of saying, well, you need to do this. They're not. There's no directives, as far as I'm aware, which kind of makes China a bit unique.
It's cultural, I think.
Yeah.
With a democracy like America, they need to be seen to make rules and regulations, and then have the regulations be applied. Whereas in China, all business in China is people talk to people, know a person who knows a person, and so it works like that in China.
Yeah,
I think that's just the way. I mean, it makes sense that they know the exchange owners and the people within the central bank know each other, and they just talk.
Here we go. There's a lot of mining that goes on in China. However, I caution you, do not read too much into the high trading volumes. China has decent high volumes, but unfortunately, two of my competition exchanges, I never like to say this, but they're artificially inflating their volumes through the technique of wash trades. They use it for bragging purposes. They try to outdo each other. It's not regulated yet, so they don't get slapped on the wrist for doing that. So, who's that? Is that
Bobby Lee?
Yeah.
He's got a video, and he talks in depth how they do it.
Anyway, China is still shaking up. What else we got here? Oh, yes, our Bitcoin dropout. How many people use Fiverr or have used Fiverr in the past? Yeah, it's kind of a cool service, right? You can get somebody to do you a logo or do your SEO marketing or shine your shoes, right? Isn't that the idea? And what I think is really interesting here, and I think this is a global problem, is they dropped Bitcoin support for lack of interest, right? So here you've got record volumes. The Bitcoin network is jam-packed. There's all kinds of, it feels like there's all this buzz around Bitcoin, and yet an online retailer who presumably, you know, pays 2% for credit card transactions and who knows for PayPal and everything else, drops Bitcoin because people aren't
Using it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't say anything about Bitcoin. That says everything about the user interface to Bitcoin.
Right. I mean, I think this pushes us back into a mode of, you know how we talk about things in terms of Bitcoin is a speculation tool, and then a little later it's a store of value, and then a little later on it could be a currency. I think this is a real indictment of Bitcoin as a currency because people don't spend it. You know, they're speculating with it. Maybe they're day trading it on all these ups and downs and volatility, and maybe they see it as a store of value, so they buy it, but they're not going to Fiverr and spending it yet.
I don't know. I think they would. I think we're easier to do. I think it's just, you know, the ease of use on PayPal, the ease of use on the other things. It's just because currencies go up and down all over the world.
But not to the extent that
Yeah,
Still,
and it's easier ease of use than a credit card.
what? Bitcoin?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah,
I mean,
so-
for the online experience, I mean, assume that you already know how to use Bitcoin, right? I mean, you just point your phone at a QR code and hit send. You know, instead of entering in your address, your shipping address, like the code, and then a lot of websites are having you go to the bank's site and you know, tell them about your, I mean,
It's easy to use, but getting them is hard. Like by the time you've figured out how to
That too.
create
that is true.
KYC and all this shit and wire money to exchange
Yeah,
and
or your
put them.
machine goes away.
It's like I'm not gonna spend my bitcoins. I've like lost like how many hops along the way to get my bitcoins. So yeah, it's.
Ease of use.
But have you seen 21? I've just released. It's kind of like an Amazon Turk Fiverr thing. It's full
Yeah, I saw that,
bitcoins.
but I didn't look into it in detail. Did you? How much money did you make over the weekend doing it?
I don't know. They didn't say much other than, you know, do tasks on your smartphone for Bitcoin.
Uh-huh.
And they were saying how gift cards are huge.
Mhm.
Gift cards are huge. Like Paxful, majority of their trade, and they do millions per week, is swapping gift cards for Bitcoin. And that's because the people in India who are doing all of this sort of low kind of pay bot work, they need Bitcoins and they get paid in gift cards, so they convert it. So,
Right, yeah, that's how the whole Purse.io model works, right? You've got people in India earning Amazon credits, and then they,
yeah.
the only way for them to cash out is using Bitcoin, so you can buy things on Amazon at a 20% discount. Because some poor guy in India was doing slave labor online.
It doesn't really make sense for Fiverr to shut that down. At least you'd think their workers would want to be paid in Bitcoin.
Well, you know what? I mean, what's interesting about this, I used to be in the payments industry, and it's not a good idea to have a lot of payment options because it actually makes more people abandon their shopping carts. Because if they're like, you get to the end of your shopping experience and then you see a Bitcoin payment option, you might go, oh, I heard about this Bitcoin thing. I think I'll go do some research. And you never go through with your purchase. And I'm sure someone like Fiverr does all kinds of A/B testing and takes a look at their conversion rates and cart abandonment, et cetera. And it could be that it's just a distraction and not worth their while. But I'm really interested in this problem. How do we get to the currency use case? I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with volatility, and it's just got to get there. Yeah, these throughput problems are giving people a poor user experience, and that's a potential
Overstock
problem.
still likes it though.
Yeah, well, the CEO of Overstock is a real philosophical backer of the whole thing. But anyway, the bottom line is people are just not spending their Bitcoin. On the front page of Reddit, there was a guy. His investment advice was don't sell any Bitcoin before 2020. I didn't read it, but the headline is enough. I think a lot of people feel that way.
That's solid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's solid.
All right. In other news, Doomsday prep for the super rich.
Oh look, it's Gary with dark glasses.
Yeah, this is me. This is my. A lot of people wonder where they ask me where I'm from. This is my home here, and this is my Hummer, and we have the Second Amendment in the United States. So, this article is pretty interesting, and there were some interesting comments in the Facebook group. Of course, Bitcoin is a part of the story. 30-year-old managing director at Mayfield Fund, a venture capital firm, said, "There's a bunch of us in the Valley, that's Silicon Valley. We meet up and have financial hacking dinners and talk about backup plans. What people are doing. It runs the gamut from a lot of people stocking up on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency to figure out how to get second passports if they need to having vacation homes in other countries that could be escape havens." He said, "I'll be candid, I'm stockpiling now on real estate to generate passive income, but also to have havens to go to. He and his wife, who is in technology, keep a set of bags packed, the go bag, just in case anything happens." So you get the idea. And one of the people commenting in the Facebook group was like, workaday people don't have time to think about go bags and second passports, and maybe even don't have time to buy Bitcoin. Although buying a little Bitcoin is a little easier than getting a second passport or a vacation home. And I don't know, where would you buy a safe vacation home?
Dominican Republic.
Bali? Oh, Dominican Republic?
Yeah, Dominican Republic. Colombia now, Uruguay. There's a whole bunch.
Yeah. Well, isn't that ironic that Colombia would be safer than the United States?
As a
Come a
matter
long
of fact,
way.
Medellin.
Always
Yeah.
was,
Safer.
actually. Always was. It's just bad PR.
What do you base this on? Why are you saying these places are safe?
I don't know. I asked the question. I mean,
Add an R.
From people who've lived there.
Bali seems safe, but they've had their violent episodes in the past. So I don't know, but it's interesting that people are thinking in this way. And this article was in the New Yorker. This isn't in Guns and Ammo magazine. This is in the New Yorker, and it's not tinfoil hat people. It's professionals and technology people, and not your typical what do they call them? Preppers.
Preppers and
Not your-
conspiracy theorists.
Do we have
Yeah.
some graphs of the safety, threshold for each country so that we can
Oh
see
yeah,
over time?
there's some
Yeah, I can whip some up.
publications
Give these
on this.
I don't have any handy. Sorry.
It just said for some, it's just program entertainment.
Yeah,
Real world sci-fi or yeah.
they're just having fun,
They're just having
pretending there's going to be a
fun.
zombie apocalypse. Anyway, it's a long read, man. This is like a
Yeah.
get a cup of tea kind of story.
I can't read that much.
There's pictures. There's pictures, Will. Look, there's a picture.
Let's just do a tweet storm.
Yes, why don't you retweet this this whole article? 7 of 72, 8 of 72. All right. What else we got? Here's the, we said we were going to talk about ETFs. Here's the story from CoinDesk. Ex-Gemini lawyer, SEC unlikely to approve Bitcoin ETF. So what's the problem? Will, you said we should be bullish in 2017 because Wall Street was going to get involved with Bitcoin. We were going to see commercial investment in Bitcoin and this whole ETF thing. That ETF stands for Exchange Traded Fund. So it's like a security that has Bitcoin as a backing, or a security that's denominated in Bitcoin, so that the average investor doesn't have to get a wallet, doesn't have to worry about Bitcoin security. They can just call their broker, buy the Bitcoin ETF, and watch their investment go to the moon based on Willy Woo's projections, right? And it's not happening. Even though we've had the Chicago Mercantile Exchange create a daily Bitcoin price, even though the Winklevoss twins have been lobbying and trying to make it happen for their fund for the last, seems like forever. It's just not happening. Why is that? It seems unlikely, among all other reasons, that the commission is going to want to move forward with a product where the major trading is done on exchanges that may not be following AML guidelines. What's AML? Anti-money laundering. So there's still this perception that these things like Bitcoin are used for money laundering, and they haven't got a security handle on it yet, and they don't want investment vehicles to be used as money laundering. What do you guys think about that?
How is it different from gold? You can buy $9,999 of gold.
Mhm.
About
Yeah, but try and cross a border with that sucker.
gold.
Oh, you mean
10
a
gold
gold
coins.
ETF?
10 gold coins, not even. That's real easy.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're doing a gold ETF, what do you think they're doing? They're buying gold coins. It's the same thing, but worse, right?
Yeah. So are you saying that because we have gold ETFs, we should have Bitcoin ETFs?
Yeah, I mean, you've got $6 trillion of gold there, which is way easier to get past money laundering regulations than Bitcoin.
Well, if you're going to use Bitcoin to launder money, why on earth would you buy a Bitcoin ETF? I mean, that doesn't make any sense at all to me.
No, that's saying the exchanges aren't following, so
So
it's connected to money.
But would the ETF be buying its bitcoins from unregulated exchanges? I don't think so. I mean, I don't know where it would be sourcing the Bitcoin.
yeah, there are exchanges that are fully
Yeah, and in the US.
KYC, AML
Absolutely.
compliant.
Yeah, like Gemini's.
Gemini, I mean, would be the obvious one that the ETF would.
I suspect that the government is just sitting on their thumbs and just don't have their act together.
Stalling. Needham put out a report last week, 25% chance of approval.
25%.
Yeah, but if it does get approved, you can expect $300 million to go within the first week.
300 million.
In the first week.
And any idea if that would move the price?
Yeah, it'll make the price.
And is that because the knock-on effects, or because 300 million is significant?
It's significant. Also, it's hold. It's not trade. It's hold. So you remove,
reduce the
remove supplies permanently. So it's like the reward halving. It takes a few months, but it takes effect.
I'm wondering as well about this lawyer's motive, because I mean he was formally involved, wasn't he? But he's left. I'm just wondering about his timing and motivations for actually coming out with this.
It's a bit off, because he was employed in confidence.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he was involved in trying to get the ETF to happen, and maybe he's just kind of sour grapesing.
Yeah,
if you
that's
read
what
the
I'm
comments-
wondering. I mean, I'm wondering how much credibility there is in the story.
But
I
he's a
don't
lawyer.
know.
Lawyers don't lie.
Oh, never. Never.
They never push a point of view for their own ends. The other interesting thing in this story is, what's going to happen with the regulatory environment around Trump. Change is coming. Speaking shortly before Donald Trump's inauguration as president, Brill said he is cautiously optimistic about a more promising environment for Bitcoin companies in the future. From a strictly local business perspective, he predicted Trump would likely be pro-Bitcoin. However, considering concerns about possible trade war with China following Trump's expected policies, Brill said the predominance of Bitcoin trading in the nation could be a hindrance. And as you know, or maybe if you guys haven't been following it, Trump's basically trashing the TPP.
Yes.
And Trans-Pacific Partnership, and working on bilateral trade agreements with each of our trading partners, including China. And so Bitcoin, if Bitcoin becomes important to China, it could be some way to lever that relationship. And things are a little chilly between our man Trump and the Chinese at the moment. He's even rattling the saber over all this South China Sea stuff, which is kind of a bummer. How far is that from us? That's like not too far from Bali. All right. Let's talk a little bit about Bitcoin traffic jam, shall we? We've been looking at this Bitcoin clock every week, right? And because difficulty changes every 2 weeks, 1 week it's down here around 6 o'clock, and the next time it's up here around 12 o'clock. But you can see we're a little ahead of schedule, right? Last week we were down around 6 o'clock, and here we are already at 5 past midnight. And that's because the Bitcoin difficulty has gone through the roof. Have you guys seen this? You guys paying attention? Look at this. Look at this graph. Look at this last difficulty adjustment. You can see there's an adjustment every 2 weeks, and they're normally not all that exciting. And now we have got a ton, an absolute ton of processing power coming online, making Bitcoin difficulty. I think it's twice, the hash rate has doubled since October of last year. So the Bitcoin processing power has doubled since October of last year. So somebody posted on, I didn't do the numbers myself, but somebody posted on Reddit that we could, based on old hashing rates, the hashing rate now could recreate the old blockchain up until like last year in October in the next 10 minutes. So this is like, this is amazing addition to the Bitcoin security and difficulty.
That would be October 2015.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Based on the current hashing rate,
Up to 15,
the Bitcoin is less than about a year old or something.
Say again?
Based on the current hashing rate, Bitcoin is only about, if it had been consistent, it would
If
have
it
been
had
a year
used
old.
that, yeah, you'd have block times not every 10 minutes, but every few seconds, right?
But
If
it
you were-
doubled since October 16 or 15.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
I gotta check. I can't remember. It might be 2015. Anyway, I'll check it out. But in any case, the Bitcoin computer is doing more sheer brute force computational work than the largest supercomputers on the planet, right? If you took all of them, it's still hundreds of times more computing power securing the Bitcoin network. But it's unusual. I mean, it's already incredibly high, and then to see this kind of change for a 2-week adjustment is very unusual. Does anybody have any idea why that's happening?
I think it's a plot to discredit Bitcoin, to sort of say, look at the amount of carbon we're burning and we're ruining the planet.
Yeah.
This must be stopped.
That's
for the sake
not-
of the planet.
That's not that's a misnomer though. That's a real common thing. Everyone thinks security is hash power and hash power is energy, but it's not. It's the energy is based on the price. It's the price of Bitcoin because that's how much you can afford to burn to mine.
Oh.
So
So as the Bitcoin price goes up, you're able to use more and more electricity.
more electricity, right? And hash rate increases a little bit because of that. But when you see major jumps, that's more efficient hardware, getting more hashes per joule. Next wave of ASICs coming on board.
Yeah. That was the speculation online, was that there's some sort of new technology, some sort of new hardware coming
But
online.
I found this other thing as well. Well, I also say it's Roger Ver's brigade because they're buying a second table, so I think, X percentage now is new mining hashing coming from unlimited supporters.
Ah.
So, but that goes into the economics of mining, right? They've still got to burn the electricity, so whether or not the price can support, some miners might get squeezed out. But one thing that everyone's missing is that, have you guys seen the fees market?
We're going to show a graph in a minute.
I'll show you in a bit, but we're already making 10% more off each block based on fees, and that was 1% of less than 1% of each block a year ago. So that's more hashing power you can throw in, or more electricity you can throw in.
All right. Speaking of fee markets, here is the present state of the congestion on the network. this is the mempool, which is the backlog of Bitcoin transactions, and this is a little bit hard to see, but that's 40 megabytes. So every Bitcoin block is 1 megabyte. So there's 40x worth of transactions that are trying to make it into the next block. So that is a major backlog of transactions. And you can see because of that backlog, the fee market is suggesting that you submit a transaction of 100 Satoshis per byte. So with Bitcoin, the fee is not associated with the amount of Bitcoin you're sending. It's associated with how big the transaction is in terms of bytes, the size of the transaction in bytes, because every block is only 1 megabyte, and they've got to fit your transaction into that next block. And so the price for performance calculation is done by the miners to say, hey, we're going to take this many bytes for this fee that's associated with that transaction. And if you're cheap, then maybe they push it off to the next block or the next block or the next block.
So what determines the number of bytes per transaction?
Yeah.
Well, it depends on several things. It depends on the number of inputs, the number of outputs, and also if you have a multi-sig transaction, that takes up more space. So that's what can make it vary, and that's actually why the true throughput is less than 7 transactions per second, because most transactions these days are can't get to that bottom threshold. I mean, 7 transactions per second is if all the transactions were super simple, and we're not there yet. And actually, I think I have a graph that shows, where is it? Oh, I can't find it. I thought this graph showed transactions per second. Is it this one? Here it is. Transaction count, transactions per second. So here you go, where we oscillate between 4.5 and 2.
It's about 3.2.
3.2. So this is what we're seeing on the network now.
What's the oscillation due to?
What's that?
What's the oscillation due
to? That's a good question. You know, these are each block. Like this block is 998 kilobits. This one is 999.
It's day-night cycles.
Yeah, I mean, where it's definitely like a lull. There's a lull where they can play catch up. I mean, because we've got to clear all of these transactions in the mempool. So there's got to be a downtime where there's not as much throughput. If we had this kind of sustained throughput, then Bitcoin would fail. I mean, you'd have memory overloads on the nodes.
Can you go back? It's those oscillations are daily, eh? So it's like, is that right? Check that. That's each day.
7 days. That looks like about 7
what's
oscillations.
What time of day is the peak?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Yeah,
6.
it'd be
Yeah.
interesting to map that. Is that US or Europe or China? Who's doing peak?
I don't know. What can you see the? Oh, this doesn't say.
Here we go.
There's the
Here we
time,
go.
but
Is
here's
this UTC time? UTC. That's 10 a.m. is the low. 10
So-
a.m. and that's 20,
So, okay, so
10. What's that? 10 hours ahead is the peak. No, 10. 13 hours ahead of UTC time.
Yeah, it's
What's
definitely
that?
a day-night cycle, though, isn't it? So which one is doing the most? That's got to be China, right?
Yeah, what is that UTC? I don't even know.
I don't know. It doesn't say.
Because we're at 8, and that's saying.
maybe it's all UK and everyone's just trading at 11 p.m.
30 on top of.
Well, this just goes to show that we've got to solve this problem. I mean, we're catching up during these lulls, right? We're able to clear some of this is the mempool here. You can see this is how much makes it into a 1 block, and this is how much the backlog is. So you can see that catch-up periods are necessary. And if we were to have constant throughput at the peak throughput, then Bitcoin would never catch up, right? Wouldn't matter if you have a fee market. And here's a graph of miner revenue. I couldn't find miner revenue in Bitcoin graph, but if you find one, I'm curious to put one up. This is in US dollars, and you can see that the last little bit has a distinct climb in miner revenue. The Bitcoin price has gone up, but also this is many more fees, and more expensive fees are making it into every single block. Have any of you guys done a analysis of your Bitcoin transactions around spending around Ubud to see how they've changed? Because when we, if you go back a year ago, they were like 2-3 cents, and now they're like 20 cents, 30 cents sometimes. That's a lot when you're buying
more than that.
That's a you've had ones that are higher than that.
I had a 10%er, yeah.
So 10% like $1 on a $10 purchase. Yeah.
But which wallet were you using?
Blockchain.
So yeah, it doesn't really give a very positive retail experience, does it? No wonder people aren't spending. No wonder Fiverr's dropping it. I think, and maybe Bitcoin won't be suitable for small retail transactions. That could just be the reality of what Bitcoin turns out to be.
Miners have got to eat.
Miners have got to eat. Yeah.
Yeah, they do. And restaurateurs are not going to take Bitcoin if it takes that long to process.
And this is quite a telling graph. This is the median confirmation time. And you can definitely see this is looking a lot more erratic in the last few months than what we are used to. So with some all-time high median transaction times. What is this? Anybody read that?
It says lots.
Let's see the last 30 days here. So
15 minutes.
15 minutes. So it should be every 10 minutes, but on that whole day, the average was 15 minutes. So that ain't cool, right?
Well, I once waited 6 weeks for a transaction to clear on Swift.
Yeah.
New business days.
Never
Never
made it. It came back. I lost $1,000.
You lost 1,000.
Well, it was between countries, so they traded the currency and then they traded it back 6 weeks later when they rejected it.
Oh,
Took
God.
$1,000 off.
Yep.
Wow.
Been through that.
Well, I haven't had a $1,000 Bitcoin transaction yet, so maybe we're still winning, yeah.
Yeah, it's still a lot better.
Did you try bumping the fee?
You mean after the fact?
on Swift.
Swift. No.
All right,
Happened to
let's
me,
see here.
really. Yes, it did.
All right, Will, you ready to
Yeah, sure.
roll?
Give me that mouse.
Here's, all right, you need the mouse again.
I need the mouse.
Let me help you. Let me turn this around. I gotta face you here.
Squeak. Squeak. There's the mouse.
Do you want me to go to the next slide?
Okay, I've been making graphs. Lots of graphs.
Oh, really?
Graphs.
Ooh, fancy.
Pretty.
Okay, so I make graphs, then I make bullshit up.
Then you like paint your pump on.
I put it on Twitter so I can get followers, and I make bullshit up. Do you guys see this? This is like along the top. This is market cap. Bottom is the price, and these are other bits, right? And they're all on a log graph. So even though market cap's in the billion and prices are a few hundred up to 1,000, they still are on the same graph, and they track each other because it's the magic of log graphs. So
It looks like an EKG.
So yeah, it does, but hey, it is. This is like
How's the patient?
This is the readout on our Bitcoin patient,
EKG,
right?
Yeah.
So so if you take a look at let's just get this onto this bit. If you take a look at market cap, I've done this thing. I've put names against it. So market cap is kind of like a valuation, or you could call it money supply or valuation. Right? That's what we're looking at, and price is the thing that we know. Interestingly, we have throughput. This is the amount of US dollars transacted on the blockchain. It's an estimated figure because we don't really know. When you send a transaction, there's an input into it, and then out of it, some of it gets sent back to you, outputs, as change. But we don't know really whether or not the change is actually back to ourselves or to someone else. So that's a guess, and that's done by blockchain.info, and they've got information, I guess, because they run a wallet. So it's a pretty accurate guess from my understanding, or from what I've seen. You can see it tracks market cap quite well, because I'll talk a bit about that later. But the interesting thing I wanted to point out here is this is, you were saying, has anyone done a graph on miners' revenue? This is it. This is miners' revenue in US dollar terms, right? And so you can see since 2014 to today, it's been flat. They made $1.8 million.
Are there two halvings on here?
That's halving one, that little bump there. And that, oh, that's halving two, that's the other halving there. Right?
Yeah.
Right? So
Interesting.
So 2012, 2016, 4 years, right? So say 3 years ago, they made 1.8 million. Today they make 1.8 million. So this is the amount of, roughly you can say, the electricity being burnt per day to protect the network, assuming near marginal sort of like bare bones profitability for miners, which is the case because a lot of miners go bankrupt. So this is, we're having $1.8 million being burnt to protect the network. And that's against the backdrop of increasing market cap. So that ratio is the overall ratio of money protecting the network versus the honeypot at stake. So as a percentage, it's getting less. But in terms of share amounts, this is the cost to compromise the network. You'd need to burn $1.8 million per day to compromise the network, get 50% of the network, plus the mining rigs. What is topical right now, and this is the fees proportion of the miners' revenue. Right? So this is block reward plus the fees. This is the fees, right?
Oh.
And it's on a log graph, but you can see it's making a beeline. This is a straight line up here is a constant exponential compounded growth, right? And it's on a higher compounded growth than this. Well, this is a pretty flat line.
Yeah.
And you can actually see there that lately it's making an uptick. That is the trend line of the fees added in. But you'll see, let's just follow that line. We'll follow it up, follow it up. Current trend is that it's relatively flat. You kind of expect this to trend upwards with the fees component. Somewhere here, about 18 months' time, the fees and the, as a percentage of the overall mining payout will be very close. And that's when the fees component will come close to matching the block reward. And it's only 18 months if the current situation continues.
Right.
Which is really interesting. You know, you can say when the next block halving happens, we've got that extra security. You can also say to miners, you want small blocks. It'll congest the network, but you'll make the most money. And I know for a fact that Bitcoin Unlimited and big block people are going around saying to miners, look, we've got 8 gigs. 8 gig blocks will give us 8,000 times more revenue, you know, flat fee. But that doesn't take into account the demand and supply market, which we have had since this last year. So,
But
Is one of those lines the sum of the two other lines?
Yeah, this is revenue,
That's the
overall
sum of
revenue.
The two below it, is it?
So no, there's block reward plus the fees component. I've extracted the fees component in US dollar terms, and it's closing in.
So for that to remain level, for that to remain flat, something's got to then go down, hasn't it? If that's going up, then what's going down?
No, this is the sum. This is
but if the sum stay flat.
Some staying. Oh, it's not. As this starts to make a significant proportion, this will, because it's the sum of it, it'll start to climb upwards.
When it stays flat, then what has to go down?
The block reward.
If it stays flat, then the block reward will taper. Right.
For the block reward to taper, the price of Bitcoin has to go down. Because that's the block reward in dollars, isn't it? That's what I'm saying. I think it's going to stay flat. I think that line has to go along with the price of electricity.
And the price of Bitcoin,
And for it to stay flat,
yeah,
I think the price has to go down, that equilibrium to carry on.
Well, the big part of the reason why this stayed flat is because we had a block halving. If we shifted that up to here, it would have kept pace closer to market cap. Years. So about that delta higher. So currently it would be that delta and that delta higher. It should be there, and at that point it's tracking market cap. But because every 4 years we halve the amount of payout in the reward basis, it's creating a more flat graph over the long term. Does that make sense? Getting into the weeds, but
I mean, you know, we don't know what causes what. You know, like the climate warming and the number of, you know, I mean, it's like
it's not that
it just
complicated.
serves as a problem. I just think that my feeling is that line is what's influencing the other lines rather than the way around.
This line is a component of mainly this. This is the dynamic. This is the global warming line, right? It's a complex system of the fees market, demand of transactions, throughputs, all sorts of stuff like that. This is this plus a very, very predictable Bitcoin supply block reward thing that was set in stone.
Yes.
So, and then and multiplied by price.
Yeah, which is
more
predictable.
Yeah. Yeah.
The interesting thing for me though is the difference between the total of block reward and fees and the proportion of fees in that number. So that this uptick right here, if I might, where'd I go? This slope right here means that there's a lot more fees in every block, right? The fees are taking up a larger proportion for every block that goes on the Bitcoin blockchain. And that's because of the congestion, right? If I want to do a transaction right now and it's 100 Satoshis per byte, then I will put that fee into that transaction, right? And that wouldn't happen if we had 8 megabyte blocks and there was no congestion on the network, right? I would probably pay a much lower fee.
Demand and supply. But here, look at this. This is the real readout. Back in 2015, $3,500 in fees versus they earn 960. It's about just shy of $1 million versus $3,000, right?
In fees.
$1 million versus $3,000. That's the proportion. 1 year later, this is 15,000 in fees versus 1.8 million, right? 1.8 million, right? Today we have same 1.8 million versus 100,000 in fees. So this is a log graph. Most people don't get it because it's you know, it's all exponential. But eventually we're going to have 1.8 million if this tracks sideways. 1.8 million versus 900,000 of that in fees, somewhere around here.
But right? You know, presumably when they made Bitcoin, of course the fees have to eventually take over the block reward because the block reward approaches zero, right? So in the year 2100, it's going to be 100% fees and no block reward. But we're set to get parity between fees and block reward like in 2 years, right? Not 100 years from now, but 2 years from now. So doesn't that say that the fee marketplace is going up at too high a pace?
I think that's because Satoshi never bet on the block saying so small so quickly. We never got past scaling, which, you know, it's really starting to look like we're going to have off-chain solutions clearing onto a blockchain backbone.
Yeah. Well, if we do hit parity with fees and block reward by 2019, you're not going to be buying a hamburger in Ubud with Bitcoin.
Well, you could be, but it'll be through payment channels.
Yeah, it'll have to be off-chain
and cleared.
But with that, we need SegWit and Lightning and
Bitcash.
Yeah,
BitPay, exchanges.
How quickly is all of that developing? Is it
really
Lightning
fast.
network?
They've already sent their first transactions on the Alpha network. It's live on the testnet. So
it's happening, but some of it requires consensus, and that has been a little harder to come by.
It requires SegWit to work in a more decentralized way, but it works today with a few compromises on decentralization. It's more centralized.
So
Is that like
trusting
being
a,
a little pregnant?
Yeah, well, no, there's degrees of this bit. Yeah, definitely. Like Lightning's mainly decentralized, but the routing aspect would require trust rather than a trustless thing. All right, what else you got? Okay, moving on. Hurry up, well. Okay. Okay, wait, go back. Oh, God. Here we go. I'll just dig into this one because we touched on these two. I'm going to touch on this one, which is the throughput, right? All important throughput. So you guys familiar with a price equity ratio? Price, not equity, price earnings. So, you know, like companies you can value.
Price earnings, PE?
Yeah, value is a ratio between their sales and their market cap, right? And actually, if you were to do this for an economy and not get out of the metaphor of a business, this would be like all the goods and services traded equals the monetary base times how quickly that money circulated, right? So if the circulation is really stable, there's a ratio between the economy size and that ratio is velocity. But anyway, this is the ratio of Bitcoin. This is the market cap, and this is the ratio of the throughput. So another way of saying this is, imagine PayPal did 100 billion in transactions per year, and it's valued at $10 billion, right? If they doubled that to say $200 billion of transactional throughput, most likely their valuation is going to double because they're going to make a proportional percentage of that money. This is the ratio of Bitcoin. So this is how much being put through the network, and this is their market cap. And you can see that that ratio stays within a window. And if the network's growing quicker, then you'd expect the ratio to be higher because it's very higher because it's a high growth. We give it a more of a high growth multiplier. So this is what we see. In early days, it had a very high ratio, and it started to stabilize to a baseline. This is the baseline. It's around 50-ish times the market cap at any point in time. We saw, even during the bubble, it stayed relatively stable, but it crept up. Okay, and look at this. This is the peak. This is the peak of the two bubbles, and by the second bubble, you can see we were above our baseline. So it's saying we're overvalued. We're overvaluing the market cap based on the throughput. Okay, and so that multiplier started to come back down all through the bear years, right? And notice it got to undervaluation. It had to actually get down to undervaluation before it was the end of the bear market and we started to climb again. And so one of the things you can read from this is, where are we today? We're right on the long-term baseline. Not much over, could be a little bit under. But there's people saying we're in a bubble right now. But we're not in a bubble. This is what it's saying. It's baseline normal. The bubble was here. This was the bubble. The bubble was way overvalued here, here, here. Argument, you could argue that it had recovered from the bubble just before the next bully bot pump. But it took us 2 years to get out of the bubble zone until we hit the baseline. And today we're not in a bubble. Interesting, eh? So go buy Bitcoin. And this is the same thing. This is throughput, market cap. They track each other, except in the bubble years. The bubble zone is here, market cap is above throughput. This is undervaluation a bit, roughly speaking. We're about right. Or you could say that we'll slightly need to shift the market cap higher in relation to be more, to better match the two. And that would mean that we're slightly undervalued today.
Now, if our throughput is capped, does that mean that that we're going to be limited on?
This is US dollar throughput. It's not transactional rate throughput.
Okay. So this is,
The limitation on the block size, are you saying doesn't influence the
no.
US dollar super?
So in the way it's going right now, if we stay with 1 megabyte for the next 5 years and we don't resolve the debate, we're going to go off chain, right, to Lightning, Bitcash, all these kind of things, and that means the transaction dollar value onto the blockchain will still increase. It'll be just under the 3 transactions per second, and so these networks will be aggregating all the transactions and then amalgamating them into every 10 minutes and clearing onto the blockchain for millions instead of, you know, $5 for coffee. Yep, makes sense.
Like a ferry. Drive your cars on it and
Yeah, it's clearing backbone. Yeah.
All right.
It'll work. It'll work whether it's designed. Like if we don't resolve the scaling debate, we'll just go off chain. We'll just continue to work. Yeah. 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 The only risk is that if we rush the scaling, it's not rush. We make the wrong decision on the scaling. We go with something dodgy, and the network forks and forks. That's the risk.
Armageddon.
Yeah. The end of Bitcoin.
All right, cool. Thanks, man. Good
Cool.
stuff. All right, guys. This is the topic that I wanted to talk with you guys about. This thing called Abra, which was introduced, well, actually our friend Andrea told me about this. I think he directed me to a presentation that was done at the North American Bitcoin Conference. This is something called Abra. Let me just play the little movie for you here. Oh, it's going to be loud and smooth here. Okay, hold on.
It's the middle of the workday, and you're pretty busy. A relative sends you a message needing cash assistance right away. Or your friend texts you asking to pay her back for the concert tickets she just bought for both of you. Or you just agreed to buy a hard-to-find pair of sneakers from a seller on Facebook, and he wants the money soon, or he'll sell it to someone else. You currently have a lot on your plate, and you hate the idea of lining up at the bank or remittance center to transfer the cash. The queue can be long. Arranging the requirements needed is a hassle, and the transfer fees are just too high, especially if the funds are needed quickly. Abra is an easy-to-use app that enables you to send and receive money using your smartphone, regardless of bank account, telco network, and even currency. Deposit cash through the app by finding a trusted Abra teller near you and exchange your paper cash for digital cash. Pick the Abra teller that's most convenient for you. You can also add money to your Abra wallet from your bank account. With the cash now on your phone, you can send or receive money from family and friends, or pay for items online or offline wherever Abra is accepted. It's one app for all your needs. The money is transferred directly from one phone to another with no middleman. So all Abra transactions are safe, secure, and completely private. When it's time to withdraw some funds, just use the app to find an Abra teller near you to do the exchange, or withdraw it to your bank account. Say goodbye to endless hours of waiting at the bank or remittance center. Save time and be efficient. You already use your smartphone for everything else after all. Download the app now, available for free on the iPhone App Store or Google Play. Free your money with Abra.
So it's better.
It's the middle of the workday, and you're pretty.
Yeah, sounds kind of like Bitcoin, right?
Sounds like PayPal.
Yeah.
Which is it? I mean, is it blockchain?
Well, here's the thing. From what they've said, they never have control of anybody's funds. It uses Bitcoins for the rails, and they use some sort of hedging mechanism so that you can have currency denominated in your home currency on your phone. And if you ever need to cash out into that fiat currency, then you find a teller who charges you a small fee that's a local person. So there are no banking relationships here, although it sounds like in some jurisdictions you can add money to your account with your bank.
And withdraw.
Well, the withdrawal comes from the actual people, from the tellers, and this is the thing that's revolutionary. People sign up as tellers, and so, like, let's say that my mom wants to send me rupiah here, or wants to, so it all goes through this Abra app. It's all using Bitcoin behind the scenes, but I find some local Abra teller that will give me rupiah for the IDR that I have represented in my phone.
So it's the original Ripple.
Yeah, you think this matches the Ripple use case? It's basically you have a Bitcoin wallet on your phone, and there's Bitcoins behind the scenes, but you have dollars. Like if I'm in the United States, I look at my phone, it says I have $100, and it's $100, $100, $100, right? I can go to a teller at any point in time and get $100, right? And they say that they've got some sort of proprietary hedging mechanism that allows them to represent that $100, even though it's really Bitcoin.
But if they are not in the middle of that, then it can't be very proprietary.
The what?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I mean, their service is in the middle. So they say no middleman, but it's not quite true. But what's that?
Well, it sounds like similar to Ripple in that there's a token network that you're buying into that's holding your funds and is acting as a token to get to the other person. But on the other end of it, you've got essentially a local Bitcoin network, right? It's like people on the streets buying and selling. That's the tellers. So it's an amalgamation. Like Ripple is a crypto network that banks are transacting. So it's peer-to-peer network for banks, really.
Yeah, I'm talking about the credit network Ripple of 15 years ago. It never existed.
Oh, right, that one, yeah.
The original vision.
That's more like.
But this is, I mean, according to the story, like I could be a Abra teller in the Philippines. I could have all the money denominated in pesos. I don't even know about Bitcoin, but people are going to show up at my doorstep and want pesos, and I can pay them. And I've always got, you know, I get my fee in this app, and I'm making money. I mean, my balance is growing over time.
Isn't it like you deal with Abra and not people?
No, you deal with people. There are actual tellers in different jurisdictions. Like if my mother sent me Indonesian rupiah, it would show up on my phone like 1,000,000 rupiah, and I would go find a local teller and pay a small fee, and they would give me the cash. And things are the cool thing is it's denominated in my local currency, but it's using Bitcoin all over the world to send the money. So there's no, and you know, I watched a couple presentations by the guy that put it together, and he said, you know, it's a very tricky problem because if you want to do this all over the world, you have to have banking relationships in every jurisdiction. You have to follow all these regulations. It's a huge nightmare, but they architected it in such a way that they never own the funds. I mean, the funds are on my phone, the funds are on your phone. They're denominated in Bitcoin, but they show up as actual currency on my phone. And if I use my phone to switch currencies, then there's some sort of transaction on the Bitcoin network that takes place because the hedging value has to be different. So I can denominate on my phone in Bitcoin, or I can denominate in Indonesian rupiah. And if I choose that denomination on my phone, there's a thing that happens on the blockchain, and the entire ecosystem changes.
The teller is basically, even though it might show up as rupiah on the phone, the teller is buying Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I mean, they might not be aware of it. That's
exactly.
What you're saying, right? Okay.
Yes.
Is it regulated?
Well,
Sounds like it's getting around it, eh?
Yeah, he said that he was able to avoid getting a money transmitter license and a banking license.
This is Uber. This is Uber for banks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uber for banks.
How long will he last?
If it's really decentralized, it will last forever.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've always talked about the remittance use case and thought that Bitcoin was going to be useful for that, but it was always the volatility that killed you. You know, you didn't know if the amount that you sent was going to show up at the other end. And, you know, because there aren't Bitcoin economies on either end point, you've always got to go in and out of fiat, and you're 2% in on the way into Bitcoin and then 2% on the way out of Bitcoin. You're already at you know, 5-10%, and you're no better off.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you've got a massive network of people involved in this, you know, and there's some sort of decentralized network hedging this whole thing. I mean, it sounds feasible. I haven't used it.
That bit's feasible. What I'm not quite getting though is that the teller at the end is ultimately going to receive Bitcoin.
Yes,
and they would then need to, so they'll receive Bitcoin and pay rupiah
right
for that.
Yes,
but they'll end up with Bitcoin in their wallet.
Right.
So it's just a way of transferring Bitcoin in the end. I mean that's.
Yeah. I mean they're paying out
with the currency hedging aspect
right.
dealt with. Yeah.
And the
they
cool thing is
they will need to understand what Bitcoin is and have a Bitcoin wallet to receive.
No, that's the thing that's quite interesting. I could be an Indonesian person.
How do they verify that the transactions happened? Do they both parties, when they receive the money, have to confirm?
I don't know.
Before ABRA releases the funds.
Yeah,
Get it and try.
I don't know.
Is it like an escrow service then, is it?
Yeah, it does sound like
they do use multi-sig transactions somehow. I think he mentioned.
Yeah,
but
I can see it. So the person who sent the money is locked it in escrow as in a multi-sig. The teller's got a lock on it, and then when the person receives it, they say, "I'm all good."
They'll say okay, and then
they release
then it happens.
Something like that. Yeah.
Right. And you've handed off, like, if you're a teller, you've given that person 200,000 rupiah, but on your app you've got 210,000 rupiah, and the more you do it, the more.
Right. So the question is, can it be regulated? Because Uber's getting regulated, so is Airbnb. You know, it's just like what these companies are regulatory arbitrage. They're beating hotels and taxis because they're just different, moving the regulation to a different rule.
In this case, you don't have to buy the money transmitter license. You don't have to buy the banking license.
Yeah, it's arbitrage play.
You're a bank. You're a person, and you're fulfilling this banking function that has all kinds of overhead in the traditional.
And there's no arbitrage union, is there, to fight you?
There's what? There's no what?
No arbitrage union to fight you.
It's effectively a Bitcoin wallet, but with just a different interface to make it look like something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's got to be some sort of mechanism that.
It's also a peer-to-peer marketplace like local Bitcoins. You got to attract people into your platform because it won't work otherwise.
That's true.
Right? So it's not just the wallet. It's you've got.
Yeah, Mycelium already has a market.
Yeah, it's a little bit similar to that, I guess. It's probably the closest thing, other than it's all streamlined without buyers and sellers meeting.
And there's a percentage, there's a fee. Is that set by the app or is that set by the individuals? Can you be a market maker in terms of
Yeah. It's well, according to the presentation, they said that the teller can choose their fees, and at first they could get quite high fees, but as more people in the network get on, and it's a little bit of competition.
I wonder how close this is to Paytm. That got used in India, because that came up really fast.
You know what's going to happen? This will really work well in places like Nigeria, right? Because it'll cut through the capital controls, right? Nigeria is 70% higher in Bitcoin prices than capital controls, and that's the second. I think it's the second largest or third largest country with inflows or remittance. It's something like 7 billion trillion. Billion or trillion, I don't know. It's one third of India. India's got 1.5 billion people sending money home, and Nigeria is 1/3 of that.
Wow.
And their Bitcoin price is 70% above. So imagine that.
Well, let's take a look at the remittance market here.
Stephen, where are you?
Here's remittance flows for 2015. So if you click on the United States, there are 133. Is that billion?
Billion.
Something from the United States. So that much money is leaving the United States, going elsewhere.
What is India receiving? Is it 26? It's
India.
11 billion.
Oh, do we want to do incoming to India or outgoing?
Incoming.
68% to India from other countries.
Was sent to India.
So this is big money. You can imagine, and I think people paying remittance payments pay like 8%, 12%. I mean,
actually, where they get you is on the currency exchange.
Yeah.
It looks like the fee is modest,
Mhm.
but then they dig you big time.
This is huge. I mean, like Nigeria with their 70% above and all that, they just outlawed all of their money remittance players, except the 3 biggest, include Western Union and 2 others, got to operate. And all the small guys got killed.
There's Nigeria. It's probably in here somewhere. This is a really cool graph. You can click on a country and you can see where all the money is going to, and then there's the remittance received.
Filter, right? By Asia or Africa? Or...
Africa.
Okay, so let's see. Should we look at Africa?
Oh no, maybe
What
not.
are the colours?
Maybe it's colours. By continent. There's India. There's India down bottom.
So India,
That's India. It's coming from all those
Yeah.
places.
and
And
then
we're looking for a
go.
slice of other food. That's
whoa.
Dates. What's the color code for Africa?
Are these color codes over here? Oh yeah. Let's see. Africa is green. America is beige.
So it's that very dense area of the center top.
Europe is these are all
Yeah,
European.
maybe that's. No, that's Africa.
That's
The-
Africa up at the
The
top.
blue is Europe, so something.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
this is Europe.
Oh, maybe it's not as big.
Germany goes.
Oh, that's where it's going, huh?
Yeah.
So
It's going
the
out.
width of the country means what?
No, that's the volume of money going through.
In oil.
Yeah. Right. Right now we're looking
That's
at
the
remittances
slice.
sent.
That's a slice.
So
of
like
about
America wouldn't receive much, right? They
received.
get
Yeah,
much,
let's go
so-
received. There we go.
Oh, I
There's
see.
So-
India. There's Nigeria.
Yeah.
There, see roughly a third.
Asia's
Top
taking
right.
the lion's
Oh, yeah.
share of the
So
world.
it's not so much from the sea.
Click that and see where it's coming from.
So India's receiving
Europe.
a lot.
Yeah, India receives a lot.
So you want to be. If I was Abra, I'd be going into Europe and Nigeria, and also clicking on India and trying to find what
Yeah,
they're
India
getting
is coming in from
everywhere. See, Nigeria is easier. You just go to Europe and cut.
right,
Yeah, that's the way to.
but India has covered the planet. Look at that.
Fascinating, huh?
So a lot of money leaves the US but doesn't go into it.
Right. Yeah,
I
people
think
go and make
Donald
money.
Trump's trying to sort that out at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's kind of
Well,
interesting when
you
you think
kind
about
of-
it.
It
You know,
does,
money sent.
that helps them, right? Like they get cheap labor.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. But
This
that money is
this
leaving the
this
economy.
This is wage arbitrage across the world.
Going on quite a long.
Yeah.
These flows equal up the wealth distribution in the world.
So if money's leaving the US, what's going into the US?
Labor.
Labor, cheap
Mexicans.
labor, Mexican labor.
Yeah. And then they're sending it back to their home country.
It's balancing out the economies.
And India exports huge numbers of people.
So what if it were an ideal world, what would this graph look like? It would be equal things going everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Because then it would be like just, I'm American, but I chose to go work in
But
Nigeria.
Oil isn't everywhere.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, in an ideal world, oil is obsolete.
but
Yeah, oil
for
is
it's,
gone.
it's more of a commentary on the labor, though, right? Like, if you had oil in your own country, presumably, and everything was equal, people would go into that.
Is foreign
industry.
trade considered remittance? I thought remittance is people sending money to people,
Yes.
not trade. Like oil would be a trade.
This is remittance flows. So this is like people sent. So presumably they're getting these figures from the MoneyGram and
Yeah,
Western
that's-
Union. This is person to person transfers.
Yeah, so like India, their export is labor, whereas Saudi Arabia, their export is oil.
There's Greenland right now. There's Greenland.
Where's Greenland?
You see, it says Canada, Greenland, United States. What's
Oh.
that doing there?
This little guy in there.
Greenland are tiny.
Oh,
Sweden and Denmark. That's cute.
Where's the data from? Where do they get the data
25 million.
oh, funny.
from?
What's that?
Must be from banks, eh? What do you reckon?
I don't know. I'm not it's Greenland.
I think the IMF publishes the figures, but they get it from MoneyGram and Western Union and places like that.
Very cool graph.
I love it.
Nothing to do with Bitcoin.
What is it? Tor Inal, Netherlands.
Well, the reason these are all currencies, and doesn't specifically name Bitcoin, but with this Abra app, I mean, you can disintermediate. Like if you think about the United States is sending what is that? 133 million. What was it?
Billion.
Okay,
It
100.
says
Right.
130.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's-
133 billion. what's 8% of 133 billion? That's what, you know,
percentage
these
take.
day laborers are paying that bill to send their money back home.
Yeah.
And it could be a fraction of that.
Right.
And that will be better
It's a game
for.
called Soak the Poor. We
You
do
know,
it well.
What's really cool about this is like not only does it solve remittance, but it solves buying Bitcoin.
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like the Bitcoin killer app because it goes out into people's.
Yeah.
It's
you
a use
solve
case
the
that it's the Bitcoin use case that can't be done another way because the other way requires all this banking regulation.
Spanking.
banking regulation. Now, what about throughput for this? You just stand there and wait 6 hours with the teller?
Well, yeah. Well,
Transactions
actually, that's a
clear.
good question because you know if fees get to be, well, I suppose they'd have to do this off chain then. A lot of this would have to move off chain like other things.
Yeah. I mean, they're
But-
still relying on the Bitcoin network.
You could do it through Lightning Network.
But then you're introducing middlemen and you're
Not
you know,
Lightning.
What are they
Not like-
doing is what I'm curious about. Like, what have they decided to do?
what is who decided to?
Abra. Like,
Oh, yeah, I'd be interested to
They
ask
did
that
really-
question. Like, what do you think about the fee market and the?
We should get them on or something. I was like, you want to
Yeah.
dig into their tech, exactly what they're actually doing underneath all those layers.
yeah.
So we can find the scam, like Bitcoin on something.
You know Peter Pool, the distributed mining network. So instead of relying on an individual miner and trusting a pool to give you your money, I thought Peter Pool was some kind of distributed, trustless way of mining Bitcoin.
Ah.
Couldn't they have like a Peter Pool microtransactions in the same way? I don't know.
So,
Is there
like-
use for that?
It's trustless pooling.
Yeah, couldn't you have a trustless micro? You know, I mean, yeah. As far as I know, Peter Pool is trustless mining.
Yeah, I bet you could totally do this as a protocol on protocol level way. It's,
Bitcoin
This
meetup.
is the
It is,
Bitcoin
it is.
meetup. Come on in,
Sorry,
Jessica.
we're just wrapping it up though. I'm afraid.
Sure.
Come on in, make yourself at home. There's a chair in the back there.
you could, these guys have got Series A, and they've got venture capital.
These guys, Abra.
Yeah, they've done. I think they've been funded.
I think you're right.
I
Yeah.
think you
I
want
don't know all the
that.
details.
You want that too because you want a VC in their billions. Too.
Well, they've announced that they're going global. They piloted this in the Philippines, and they've got thousands of tellers already in the Philippines, and it's working. And they're going global in February of 2017. So, and you can download the Abra app, and we could all be Abra tellers.
So there is
Come on, you
level of,
invested in TransferWise.
there's a level of control. They choose when it's available in a certain country. And then therefore that means they could switch it off in any country.
Well, maybe they were. I don't know. It sounds like they were promoting it in the Philippines, and now they're going to promote it globally. And they've got a list of currencies that the app, enumerates. And beyond that, I don't know if they acknowledge borders at all.
I mean,
probably select which countries the App Store and Google Play shows the app.
Yeah, I mean, they'll have to play by the Apple Store rules and.
Is it going to be Android only? Like they didn't allow Mycelium's marketplace. iOS.
Good question. I think that in one of the presentations I watched on this, he did talk about how Android phones have become as cheap as the feature phones used to be, and that people in all kinds of rural areas are buying their first smartphones, and the smartphone proliferation is going to make all this possible. So,
It's very cool.
yes, very, very interesting. All right, guys, we are out of time. We do this every Tuesday night, guys, and when we're not together, you can check out bitcoinsinbali.org. We also have our YouTube channel, and I think I posted, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but I've got this Watch With Us playlist, right, where I list the things that we're watching. So there's another presentation by the guy who started Abra, and you'll find stuff like that on the Watch With Us playlist, and if you subscribe, you'll be notified when I put stuff on there. So that's where you can find the videos that we just talked about. We do this live every week from Ubud, so if you find yourself in Bali, hopefully you'll join us in person. We do it at 5 p.m. on Tuesday night, local time. at hubu.org. We've also got Twitter. You can find Willy Woo on Twitter at DangerMouse117. Don't forget our Facebook group, Bitcoins in Bali. Give us your news stories and we'll talk about it when we get together. That's all we've got for you folks. We're on our way to Kismet for 10% off tonight. So thanks for coming tonight, guys. We'll see you next time.
Yay.
See you at Kismet. All right. Woo-hoo.